Man, I'm so grateful that even if nothing else was shared in this service, I feel so fed by the music and the words. You'd think that somebody put some intention into this. No. Oh, you gotta laugh, gotta laugh. The reading we just heard reminds us that none of us is extra, none of us disposable. We are woven together by love and commitment, moving forward in trust, even when we don't yet see the full path ahead. This is the heart of beloved community, honoring the worth of every individual, embracing difference as a gift, and recognizing that our wholeness depends on our willingness to journey together. This morning, we continue in growing and leading ourselves whole, this series exploring what it means to cultivate beloved community, one that is healthy, whole, and deeply rooted in UU values. This is the third of a 6-sermon series inspired by Tom Owen Tolley's book, Growing a Beloved Community, 12 Hallmarks to a Healthy Congregation. So far, we've already reflected on the hallmarks of occupying holy ground and welcoming all souls, caring for our own, and empowering everyone's voice. Y'all remember all of these, right? Yes, 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 yes. You're keeping track. I know you are. Today, we continue our journey by exploring the hallmarks 5 and 6, which are encouraging unity and balancing justice and joy. As I continue sharing from the wisdom of Owen Tolley's book, I want to reiterate my invitation for you to join me in reading, embodying, and promoting these hallmarks, because many members of our congregation often speak of growing the church, and this right here, the things that we are studying together and journeying with, is the work of it. Chapter 5, Encouraging Unity Amidst Diversity, begins with a reflection that felt especially relevant to me in these times, even though this book was published in 2004. He wrote, quote, "The American motto endures, e pluribus unum, out of many, one. Yet liberty and diversity are under alarming attack by those who seek uniformity. To them, reaching different conclusions about moral and spiritual matters is unacceptable. Diversity and pluralism are considered sin." End quote. Can you believe that this was written in 2004? It feels so relevant right now. The balance between unity and diversity is delicate, both politically and religiously. To function effectively as a nation, we should be indivisible, sharing common values and a mutual dedication to democracy, but unity should never come at the cost of erasing or diminishing our many cultures, our many races, our many religions and ideologies. Our strength is found in our pluralism, e pluribus unum. And yet, as was said, in this very moment, we are witnessing a surge of policies that attempt to strip people of their dignity in the name of uniformity. The dismantling of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives and federal agencies we know is a direct attack on the sacred work of ensuring workplaces reflect the full diversity of American people. The layoffs of federal employees as a political retaliation undermine the very stability of our democracy. The continued assault on LGBTQ rights, from rolling back protections in the military and healthcare to criminalizing gender-affirming care, seeks to erase our beloved siblings from public life. And now, just the other day, there was a recent executive action branding certain migrants as, quote, enemy combatants. We are watching history repeat itself in chilling ways. The proclamation invoking the Alien Enemies Act, this was on March 15th, to justify mass deportations of Venezuelan asylum seekers as well as many others. It's not just policy, it is cruelty weaponized. As people of faith, as people who profess to build a world where all are welcomed, we must be clear. Policies that dehumanize people are immoral. They are not just political decisions, they are moral failures. Our faith calls us to respond not with silence, not with complicity, but with courage to say, not in our name, not on our watch. We know that unity is not about sameness. We know that unity is not about agreement on every issue. True unity is about making space for one another with respect and grace. Former UUA President Reverend William Sinkford once wrote, quote, "We are a religious community not because we think alike, but because we are willing to journey together," end quote. Healthy congregations navigate this paradox courageously. No congregation does it perfectly, but in a thriving UU community, diverse traditions, theologies, identities, and life are experienced and honored. The goal is to be diverse without becoming divided, to grow unified without succumbing to uniformity. So how do we live this out in practice? Well, many of us know that worship holds a primary place of uniting hearts and minds because while beliefs can divide, shared experiences connect us. On any given Sunday, people arrive with different expectations, preferences about music, desires for sermon content, and a desire for who gets to speak it. And yet diversity calls us to be open, not just to the wider world, but within ourselves and in our sacred spaces. So one way that here at UUCT we celebrate diversity of thought by sharing the pulpit with a multitude of voices, embodying pluralism grounded in shared values of justice, love, equity, and transformation. Beloved community calls us to unity that embraces difference, seeing it not as a barrier, but as a gift. Unity also asks us to lean into the discomfort of learning from one another, to listen when someone shares their pain or a disagreeable point, and to stay in relationship when disagreements arise. Beyond worship, unity amidst diversity is reflected in how we engage with one another, how open we are to neurodiversity and generational diversity, how we meet people where they are with grace and patience, stopping to take a moment when there's a mistake that's made, or giving room for disagreement and misunderstandings that you can make time to listen to. I know right now we have, I don't know if our youngest AV person in the back is here today, but I know we have a youth that has been volunteering with our tech and AV equipment, and sometimes there could be a mistake that we might see in worship, and it's up to us to have patience, to show this youth that we have time to wait for mistakes to be undone, for us to be present. And the same is true in conversations with people who might identify as neurodiverse and neurospicy. Sometimes, this is a thing. And as a person who sometimes identifies as neurospicy myself, sometimes you just gotta take a moment and really allow what is said to digest before responding. So you can't just have that really quick conversation that you might want to have to just get to the point. It requires us to have grace and patience. Owen Tolley reminds us that trust is the foundation in all healthy congregations, and it is trust that allows us to be vulnerable, to share our truths and be willing to make mistakes, and to remain in relationship even through the difficulty. Reverend Victoria Safford writes, quote, "To be truly seen and known and still be loved, that is the deep miracle of community. Trust is what allows us to be fully seen and embraced. But trust is not automatic. It is built through consistency, through showing up, through keeping our promises even when it is difficult. Authentic diversity is not an occasional project. It's made by rebuilding trust and modeling it. It's our way of being and doing religion. We, as UUs, may get it wrong sometimes, but we remain committed to building beloved community, a community of radical acceptance and of honoring difference. Also in the book, the sixth hallmark of balancing justice and joy, I think that we do that pretty well, but I really like this quote that was written by E.B. White that says, quote, "If the world were merely seductive, that would be easy. If it were merely challenging, that would be no problem. But I arise in the morning torn between a desire to improve or save the world and a desire to savor and enjoy the world. This makes it hard to plan my day." End quote. A healthy congregation calls us to both improve and enjoy the world. Justice work is sacred work, but it cannot be sustained without joy. Many who have fought for justice, some of the folks like Dr. King and Ella Baker and John Lewis, they were known to also dance and sing and find different ways of expressing joy even in the midst of struggle. Did y'all know that Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's inner circle often remarked about his playfulness and his sense of humor? They said he acted quite silly often. Did any of y'all know that? I didn't know that either, but it was such a joy to read. And then now, after I've heard it, I look back on some articles and I think about seeing him smiling, playing with his kids and things, and I can imagine him a little bit more easily being a funny, jovial person. And that's helpful when I think of certain activists always being very serious, to know that they had a good sense of humor. Owen Tolley notes that the German word for blessedness, selig, is related to the English word silliness. Cool fact. The poet Edward Field reminds us that, quote, "If someone is to lead us, let it be a humble person who doesn't necessarily ask us to follow, but simply follows their own heart. Someone who talks a little silly sometimes. I would follow a leader like that." In that way, joy is keeping us connected. It is the laughter at some congregational potlucks, even laughter during worship service. I see you back there. It's the joy from singing hymns that lift our spirits and feelings of belonging. When we center joy, we refuse to let oppression have the final word. Reverend Dr. Jackie Lewis affirms that, quote, "Joy is an act of resistance. It is what allows us to keep moving forward even when the work is hard," end quote. Joy helps us to be flexible in our justice making, and Taoism observes that in a storm, it is a bamboo tree, the most flexible tree that can bend with the wind and survive. It's the rigid trees that resist and fall victim to its own insistence of control. I know some times of being like that in church life. But here, we strive to be an embodiment of flexibility, knowing that non-binary thinking, open-mindedness is critical to sustaining a shared ministry of both serving and savoring work. Merrymaking, swaying in dance and song grants us fresh perspective and resilience when we're embroiled in serious, taxing organizational work for social change. It helps us keep in mind that as a congregation, we're called to be faithful, not always successful. In being faithful, we can express our joy even if we don't meet the goal that we were striving for. Know that our efforts are making a difference in bending the moral arc of the universe towards justice. Beloved community is not a destination. It is a daily practice. It's built through trust. It's nurtured through unity and sustained by joy. As we go forward today, let us recommit ourselves to building a world where trust is honored, where unity is practiced, and where justice is not only a struggle, but also a source of deep joy. May it be so. And before I invite the next part of service, I want to offer a few tangible ways to embody these hallmarks that I just talked about. So, one is show up for justice at the Nehemiah Action on March 31st at 6:30 p.m. with the Capital Area Justice Ministry, where we will gather with nearly 1,000 folks in partnership with over 20 other Tallahassee churches to advocate for urgent community needs. How many of y'all have heard about the Capital Area Justice Ministry before? Okay, good, because we've been active with them for many years, and we share the plate with them. Well, actually, no, we share other money with them, so it's good that many of us know about them. So I hope to see y'all there on March 31st. Another thing we can do is show up for joy by participating in the Springtime Tallahassee Parade with UUCT on Saturday, March 29th at 10:30 a.m. We hope to have our blue shirts representing the little engine that could and UUCT in this march at Springtime Tallahassee. Let's show up there with joy. Another way that is more close is today you can show up at GLOW meeting, UUCT's Open Community Council, where we share information and build relationships. And the last thing that I'll say at this time is you can also show up for some justice and joy with the Tallahassee Community Action Committee meeting tonight at 6:15 in room L. These are just a few ways that we live out our values, encouraging unity, balancing justice with joy, and growing our beloved community together. Thank you.